Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Complex Like Wine, the podcast where we talk about complicated things and improve over time, just like wine does. I'm really excited for this week's guest. Just a brilliant mind, and her projects and her work is just, can't wait for you guys to check out her socials and her links, her shop, just beautiful stuff. She'll talk more about that when we get to it. But of course, we have to go over this week's wine. So I have a red, if you're watching YouTube, I'm pulling up the bottle. So this is from an Italian island, the Isola del Norai, and the bottle is called Dosredu, which means stubborn. And the island of Sardinia is delicate to reflect the great character of this truly unique blend made with the quintessentials of Sardinia's grapes varieties. This is a blend. It's made with Cargnau, Canau, and Bovali, mature 20 months in oak barrels. So this is a 2018. I'll have the link in the bio if you're curious, want to try it. But yeah, so I'll taste it really quickly and then we'll get started with a icebreaker question after. Right. It's interesting. I've never had these type of grapes before. So the flavor is very new to me, but I like it. You definitely get the oak barrel notes to it, which is pretty interesting. So if you like oaky stuff like Chardonnays or different type of red blends, this one I recommend. But anyway, back to Nadine. So I'll let you introduce yourself really quickly and then we'll get into the icebreaker question.
Okay. Hi, my name is Nadine, Nadine Suleiman, and I'm super happy to be here. So thank you for having me.
No, thank you for being on. I'm glad we were finally able to find a time to do it.
I know. Thank you for being patient with me.
Of course. So if you're on YouTube, you can see in Nadine's background that she has beautiful clothes hanging up behind her. I'll let you explain more about that.
Yeah, so I started a business about a little bit over a year ago. So I designed clothes. And yeah, I was gonna go to law school. I was working in journalism in an international news broadcast, and I like studied my whole life to do basically law. And during my LSAT, which is the prerequisite exam for law school, I needed like a study break, and I just started designing clothes. And it just kind of like really like I just felt so drawn towards it. And then I decided to take a break from LSAT and law school and pursue this full time. So that's what I'm doing right now. And yeah, I'm sure I'll talk about it a lot. It's like my whole baby. So I love her.
Yeah, we'll definitely be talking more about that.
Cool.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, what I started doing for people listening, if you didn't catch last week's episode, is I recently got the game We Are Not Really Strangers. And if you don't know about it, it's a card game just all about connection and getting to know each other deeper and better. And there's different packs, whether it's relationships, family, friends, strangers. So I got the original one. And so I just pulled up a random card to do an icebreaker. And so this one says, what title would you give this chapter in your life?
That's hard. Do you have an answer for that?
I think, if I had to pick a title for a chapter. Well, what I think I am at in life right now is a lot of development for myself and now taking time to prioritize my needs, my wants, and the goals I have for myself, and just being ambitious and going straight with it, not having unnecessary distractions or negative energies. So if I had to pick a title, that's really hard.
Titles are hard.
I'm really bad at picking titles, but within the gist, that'd be my long, super unnecessary title.
No, I like that. That's like, I feel like basically the same as me. I feel like authenticity in a way, like I've been able to really kind of explore myself lately. So maybe it's self-exploration or self recreation. Maybe it's like, I don't know, there's like a fancy word for recreation, like rebirth. Like maybe it's rebirth then. Because
like
I feel
reincarnation
like yes, like reincarnation. Yeah, I feel like I like that a lot. So it's just kind of this opportunity to, not only learn about myself, but allow myself to be fluid and change. And like, it doesn't have to stay the same. Like, I'm constantly changing, constantly like learning new things. Like, it's such a, sure you understand, such a moment of like growth in our life. Like, it's like this
Mhm.
moment where we're not just like friends with whoever or doing whatever. We're like actually like being really like analytical of ourselves and our relationships and everything. So yeah, that's my
Yeah.
chapter.
I definitely can relate to that. I think for me, I guess it's more specific, like rediscovery of myself in every aspect, like new people, new friendships I'm having, letting go of old ones, discovering new things that now resonate with me and that I want to put my time in. So,
That's
yeah,
awesome. I love
love that.
that.
Well, I'll let you take it away if you want to share more and then like your journey, everything you've just been kind of going through and learning.
Yeah. So, I don't really even know where to begin. I feel like I end up in going in so many tangents. So, like, everyone listening, bear with me. But essentially, I feel like my entire life, I've just been kind of like moving in the way that I was told to move. Like, it was just common knowledge, at least where I come from, family wise, that you go to lower school, middle school, high school, college, graduate degree, work, family, baby, grow old. And like, that's the way that it is. And like, there's no like room to do something different, I guess, in a way. But I think like, the last year and a half since I started Queens of Raw has kind of been my opportunity to rewrite that in a way that helps me like express myself. And I'm super thankful for the opportunity to do that. I definitely wouldn't be able to do it without like my friends and my family supporting me. But at the same time, and I'm sure you face this too, it's like very hard to not I guess like burnout or figuring out how I can like work and like make myself happy and also have time for like mental health and like physical health and like working out. So like time managing is like getting, I feel a little bit more difficult as like I'm growing up. Like I'm like actually trying to manage a lot more things. Like I have to actually like look at my finances when it's something that like in college, like everyone's broke. Like no one's like looking at their finances. No one has money, but like now that I'm starting to work and like have my job, I'm trying to keep everything in check, like with my mental health or like I said, my physical health. So I've definitely been struggling a lot. And I feel like a lot of my friends have too. I even had a friend, one of my best friends messaged me today and she was like, she works in a nonprofit era or organization. And she was basically just saying that like, how can I work and try and better the world and also try and better myself and be happy and not burn out, but also know that I want to help others. But I also am supposed to be working out and I'm supposed to be like journaling and doing all these things that are good for myself, but like I feel like I don't even have time to breathe. So like I feel like a lot of people and especially me are really struggling with trying to pick up a lot of these like quote unquote adulting things while trying to still have our inner child feel free and
Mm.
wholesome. I don't know if you can relate to that or not, but
Oh, absolutely. Especially for me, because my background's in film, so filmmaking, and with this podcast too, I definitely struggle with being burnt out because this kind of comes to my perfectionism and the not that we're lazy, but we get very hesitant to start things because if we know we're not at a place where we think we can do it perfectly, like we're too scared to start it. And so I think there's times where if I'm not confident in what I'm doing, I'm not really highly motivated, it's really hard for me to get myself into that groove of being creative and working on new things. And when I'm not in the headspace or mentally, especially like if I'm mentally not doing okay, I'm burnt out. Like I don't want anything to do with it. And there's definitely been times with this podcast where there's times maybe I'm not getting feedback for the week of how people connected with the guests, or I'm start to doubt myself, like, oh, I don't know if this podcast is helping anybody or is it worth people's time to listen. But then there's those few people that will reach me out of the blue and be like, hey, I love what you're doing, this and that. Like I look forward to the next one. And that's what helps me try to get out of myself and be like, don't get stuck in your mental cycle of being burnt out and
yeah.
trying to like figure out how to get out of it.
Yeah, burning out, the feeling of being burnt out, I feel like I get so frustrated. Like I'm like angry when I'm burnt. I'm like either too tired to even have an emotion or I'm like angry that I can't do what I would want to do if I wasn't burnt out. And I feel like a lot of people are struggling with that because I feel like we never really had a lot of time to be burnt out, depending on like how people's high school experience was. For me, high school is just like keep pushing, keep pushing. It was like the beginning of really pushing hard. And then undergrad was like kind of the mid. And I feel like towards the end of undergrad, I definitely burned out like quite a bit. And then it's also like now we're supposed to work in this like capitalism society for like 50 plus years. And I'm like, how are we supposed to do that? But also like maintain healthy relationships with this like work-life balance and not be burnt out, or figure out how can I minimize being burnt out or minimize the time that I'm burnt out for, because sometimes it's a day and sometimes it's like a month or even longer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure put into us or even the next generation, especially in high school, where it's like, all right, you need to start working hard because you need to get into the top college and you need the degree to get a job. And before, if you had a degree, you're set, but now like a degree is so diluted
Mm-hmm.
and it's so the workforce, like any industry you're trying to go to, it's really hard. And so that kind of, at least for me and some of my friends I've talked to, that already anxiety of knowing it's not going to be easy and you're probably not going to get where you want to be, at least compared to what you're seeing on social media anytime soon. It causes
Mm-hmm.
the burnout because then you feel like, well, what's the point? Or you get really discouraged.
Yeah, it's like this like big gray cloud. You're just like looking at it, at least like when you're about to enter this next step, when you're working super hard in high school. And it's like so overwhelming. You think about college and you finally get there. You work so hard, you did your APs, your LSAT, or like your ACT and SATs. You're just working so hard. You finally get there. And then it's like you restart that process to get a job at the end of undergrad. And then you're like looking at the job market. And at least for my industry, which is international affairs and French, which I wanted to do, either like an NGO, which is non-governmental work, which is working with like Human Rescue Society, or just different things that would basically help marginalized communities, were offering me, after a pretty competitive GPA from Florida State University, probably majority were unpaid and a lot of them were under 30 grand a year. And living in Washington, D.C., that's not livable. Like I can't live with under 30 grand a year. So it's really discouraging, like you said, like being like having diplomas essentially be very diluted. It's honestly really discouraging on top of many people that have like student loans and things. So it's like, how are we supposed to enter this workforce and something that I should be passionate about, but the passion almost gets diluted through the process of either dilution of the diploma or just being exhausted from nonstop work. It's like, okay, you finally got accepted into a job. Now you have to work your butt off to either continue to get a raise or to do better than your peers or to just show off. Like, it's always like you're almost never there. You're never really accomplishing anything. And I'm trying to also fix that with Queens of Ross, for example, too. I found that in my own business, which Queens of Ross is my business. I don't know if I mentioned that. I will design something. I'll make something just super creative, which is like my most beautiful part of creating something. And then I'll either put it on me or the mannequin. And then I'm like, oh, that's amazing. But I need to take pictures. I need to make sure the pictures can show it off. So then I'll take pictures. I have to edit the pictures. Then I edit the pictures. And then I'm like, oh, I have to post it. And then obviously everything that comes after with like pricing and everything, it's so much work. And then I post it and then I'm like waiting for the sales. And like, okay, I got a sale. Oh, I have to package it. Like I'm never like, I'm very rarely present. And I don't know if you face this, but very rarely proud of myself because I'm always moving. Like we're always working. Yeah.
Absolutely. From my perspective on that same idea, like with this podcast, it's like, okay, scheduling, talking to people, finally nailing down a time. Okay, recording. Okay, then I need to edit. And then I need to post a video, a TikTok, an Instagram reel. And then it's like, okay, let me restart the whole process. And then
Yeah.
again. And then I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm the type of person where I feel terrible if I'm not working or I'm not doing something. I always put so much pressure on myself of not having to do something. And like my days off, my part-time job, where it's like, okay, I'm not at work. Okay, what can I do? Like, okay, I already edited the episode. I already cleaned. I already did this and that. Like, I did my errands, and then like, okay, what's next? Like, it's hard because it connects to the burnt out where you feel like you have to be constantly moving, especially in society. And now where you always have to be, what's your next best big thing? Like, what's your next move? This and that. but you don't have a moment to be present in like what you're doing and actually appreciate the like art and craft that you're making.
Yeah, definitely. I feel that a lot. Um it's like definitely been something I'm trying to be more mindful about is how to sit. Like me and my best friend honestly talk about this all the time because we literally don't know how to sit. Like when I have a drop day, which is something I'm working for months, and my drop day is essentially the day and a certain time that I drop all my available items or drop things that are now available to be ordered for pre-orders. So my drop day is supposed to be theoretically the day that I finished, besides everything that's a pre-order that I have to make. But I have a lot of pre-orders, so my drop day becomes after all this work. I've prototyped, I've finalized, I've edited, I've priced, I put everything for sale, and then I start beginning the work for either the next drop or working on pre-orders for that drop. So like even drop day, my dad, the one that was most recent, which was July 31st, my dad was like, just go sit, like go relax. I was like, what does that mean? Like, what does it mean to sit? Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I genuinely don't understand the concept of like relaxation. And I think that at least my parents' generation maybe didn't put mental health as highly as our generation prioritizes it. And like, that's a great thing. But like, the pressure I feel from my parents, they're like, well, are you done for the day? Like, did you do enough work today? And it's like, I'm a human in which I deserve to do nothing. But it's hard to let ourselves do nothing too. So I try to like reward myself every evening with just like, I don't know if you enjoy doing this, but I just like love turning off my brain and putting on Netflix. Like, I don't have to do anything. I don't have to respond to anyone. It's like even with TikTok, sometimes I can't turn off my brain because you're scrolling, you're reading comments. But like,
Yeah.
I want to put on a show. I want to pretend like I'm in that show, and I'm just gonna turn off. Like, I need like at least like 30 minutes of that every night so that I can like have energy the next day, or else I'll burn out. So yeah, definitely sitting is really difficult, and it's never something that we were taught to do. Like back to the whole like high school, college, everything. It's like in high school you're preparing for college or you're in sports or whatever, and then undergrad it's like, oh, you're just in classes. No, you need extracurriculars. Like you need to make sure you have all these extracurriculars. Okay, sure. And then it's like once you start adulting, you're like, I have to cook, I have to clean, I have to do my actual job, and then I'm supposed to, so exercise and journal or meditate or yoga or whatever you want to do. That's like, it's like there's not enough time in the day. And even when there is, do you actually allow yourself the space to debrief in the way that you need to be able to restart? And the answer is, at least for me, no, it's not. I don't give myself that space to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a work in progress.
Learning how to just give yourself grace and be like, okay, you've done a lot. You deserve at least 30 minutes a day to just kind of refresh. What really helped me kind of understand, well, like, okay, I don't need to put so much pressure on myself was during school when I was just working on tests, studying, projects, homework, and I would get blocked and I'd get so burnt out and frustrated. My dad would be like, okay, like just go take a walk, like relax, like come back to it when you're like wake up early tomorrow instead and come back with a fresh perspective. And that would help me so much. And so now seeing how that was essential, I try to do it now to the stuff I'm doing with whether it's like editing or maybe trying to like figure out, okay, what do I need to do for this week's video or whatever else. And especially for me as a filmmaker, it took me one whole year to make my last film. And, you know, all of that months later of submitting to film festivals, all this promotional stuff, blah, blah, blah. And right after I released it, I was already getting questions of like, okay, have you started your next one? And it puts that pressure of like, okay, like I can't relax, I have to like start delivering, and then that puts me in that burnt out state of like, but
Right.
for me at least, I don't know how you are when, especially when you're doing creative stuff, if you're not in the mindset to produce art, it doesn't happen. Like you have to be in a mental space to allow yourself to be open that way.
Definitely, as a creative, you cannot force yourself. And you try to, because like we said, we can't sit, but it doesn't work. Like I
Mhm.
actually had a design that I rushed just because I was like, I need to get it out. Like I'm done. I've had this fabric sitting here for too long. I'm sick of it. I just need to do it. And I wasn't inspired by it, and I just did it, and it was probably one of my worst creations I've ever made. So like that really teaches me to not work on something unless I'm like really inspired or feeling it in that moment. But like back to the whole like, I mean, capitalism, the way that we move and the way that we work and the way we've been taught to work since we were young, it's very hard to say, no, I'm not going to do this right now because you either want to be able to see the final product, which is something like I applaud you so much for taking a year to create something because I like lose my mind if something takes more than like 4 hours. Like, I'm not doing this. We're not doing it. Not worth it. Like I love seeing final products, and that's definitely like a flaw that I have. I'm very impatient, but I think that's definitely like in a lot of us from the way that society is like this instant gratification that we're always getting from whether it's like social media or just like this feedback loop that we're always into. It's very difficult to like process that you need just time or that you don't need to work on that in that moment. So yeah, I definitely struggle with that too. It's a learning process for me. Patience and like learning how to not work on other people's clock. Like when people said, if your second movie was about to be ready, what would have gone through my head was, okay, well, they want it now. It's fresh in their mind. I need to get this going as fast as possible. Like I need to start working yesterday. Like
Yeah.
the anxiety is like always there, whether it's on purpose or not. And these people aren't trying to pressure you. They just are genuinely want to see what the second movie would be like or what your next creation would be. But it's also like you owe it to yourself to give yourself that grace, like you said. But that's really awesome that your dad is very like on top of giving you your space to be able to like breathe, like go take a walk. Like that's really important that your parent is like on top of you for that.
No, I got really lucky because
Yeah.
I think him and I, when it comes to our work, we work the same way. We're both creatives, and so he kind of understands. And what I appreciated was he's so supportive since day one. Though, like, okay, I want to be a filmmaker, or I want to get my degree in film at the very least. He's like, oh, do what you want to do. Do what makes you happy.
Mhm.
And it kind of ties into now with I would not be doing this podcast if it wasn't for my film degree because I wouldn't have the tools or the inspiration to want to do video and audio editing and putting videos up every week and all of this stuff. And so I want to ask you after I kind of explain my perspective, how has that people's expectations of what you need to do has made you think you need to shape or go a certain direction? Because for me, I haven't done a new film since my last one, and it hasn't been a year yet since it's been released. In early October, I started, not October, sorry, April, I started this podcast. And so this is what I've been really focused on because this is what I'm really passionate about right now. And, some people make questions like, well, what is she going to do with the film degree? Like, well, what's the next plan? And so it's trying to like not get that pressure, people not understanding, like, because of the film degree, now I'm doing this. And so not that I'm totally disregarding that, it's just not the focus right now. Like, have you any had experience like that?
Yeah, I think before I kind of dive into myself, I think what's really stands out to me about what you said is that they're asking about the future when it's like, can we be present? Like literally the whole like what we've been talking about is sitting, like just embracing what you have. You don't have to think about like how the past will help you for the future. Like obviously that's important. We need to like figure out where we want to be, but it's also like can we just appreciate the type of art that you're doing now? Maybe you'll pick up another year in 7 years, maybe in 30, maybe in 3 months. Like who knows? But like the fact that you're interested in that right now is what's important. And I don't think I struggle with like, I mean, like the hard part about design is that my sales are basically, I mean, I'm sure like everything else, like business wise, it runs everything. So I definitely, it's hard to, especially like my clothes, for people that want to see my stuff. Like I'm sure my Instagram will be on this, everything. It's like Radia's
Mhm.
Creations, but my Instagram is very, or my clothes in general are very not something that you can wear to like Publix. I mean, please wear it to Publix. I would love that. Wear it anywhere you want. USPS, I would love that. That would make me so happy. But like everyone that I know, whether that's like my family, friends, are like, yeah, but where would I wear this? Like where like I don't know how to wear this. And like my point in creating is like I'm not worrying about where you can wear this. And it's not that I'm not worrying about it. It's that I hope that other people have the confidence, which obviously doesn't really exist because sorry, this is all over the place, but essentially like I made a TikTok and I was like, why don't we dress like this? Like I know so many people feel so confident because so many people are like, I want this, I want this. And like, it's like my goddess warriors that literally looks like what a goddess warrior would look like. And like, I would die to wear something like, I would love to wear that, but I don't feel safe because I mean, majority of the comments on the TikTok were literally like men, 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 men. So it's like safety is another reason, but it's also like for a lot of us, it's just confidence. Like we have never really let ourselves wear what makes us feel sexy or makes us feel feminine or makes us feel masculine or whatever you want to feel like. We don't really let ourselves completely embrace that like dress up in a way that's like, you're asking why I'm overdressed, but why are you underdressed? Like we need to embrace the way we do things, but at the same time, I definitely try, or I've had these moments of being like, oh, like where are people going to wear this? But at the end of the day, it's like art is art. You can wear it out if you want. If you don't feel comfortable, you can wear it at home with your loved ones. You can wear it to like a little party if there's a little loved ones, but it's not. I've always loved the idea of people being able to embrace themselves and giving them a space in which they can put something on to embrace themselves. And I definitely have had those things where like other people's pressure is on me, where I'm like, the things that I want to make is maybe making it for them or making it, which is like another thing that I'm like very difficult is customs too, because custom is someone coming to you and saying, I want so and so and so. So it's no longer this idea that I have, it's something that someone else makes. So a lot of artists have like no commissions or customs open, which is like a great thing to do also. Like some people can feel inspired by someone else's idea, and sometimes I do, but there's been many times where I had to reject someone and say like, I'm sorry, I don't think I'm the right person to do this for you. But it also takes a lot to do that, just to say that to someone, because at the end of the day, one, you want to make that person happy, and two, you also want their business. So it's like, I definitely struggle with telling people no in general, not even just with Queens of Raw. It's really hard for me to say no, but at the same time, it's hard for me to just like kind of follow what I just want and not stray away from that. Especially in designing. I'm scrolling through Instagram, a lot of the things are the exact same. Like everyone's wearing the same top or whatever. So I'm like, should I make that? Like clearly people are buying it, and I'm like, no, I'm just gonna do what I want. But it's hard to do that. It's really hard to let yourself just believe in yourself. Like it's really hard for me to do that, and I'm sure you struggle with that too. And the like I don't know if fallacy is the right word, but the struggle of so many options. Like I feel like these days we have a million and one options, and I want it all. Like my last drop, I had over 20 different fabrics you can choose from. So in every skirt and like the 6 different tops that I made and a dress, you can choose like 20 different fabrics. So I'm like, everyone likes something different, and I like them all. Like obviously I would maybe prefer like 3 to 4, but like everyone likes something different. So it's definitely difficult to try and make your customers happy, but at the same time, really just worry about myself and what I want to do.
Like being true to yourself, the
Yeah.
authenticity.
Yes, exactly. Like how can I find things that other people would like while also prioritizing being true to myself? And that's been like this really like rope, thin line that I'm like always trying to navigate. Also, I'm gonna have to leave where I am right now because my brother's about to work out and clank, clank, clank around.
Oh yeah. Do a quick little intermission.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I'll sit outside though.
For people that are curious of checking out Queens of Raw, I'm gonna list all her stuff in the bio and everything. Beautiful pieces if you're a festival goer. That's how I first got introduced to your stuff. Kaylee, I saw her, she was wearing one of your outfits to Brent, and I was like, where did you get that? That's beautiful. And then she told me like, oh, that you made it. So there's been a few times where I'm like looking at stuff, I'm like, okay, it's sold out. I'm gonna have to wait for the next one because there's stuff like, I love that. I want it.
Oh, that's sweet. Yeah, bring it to Kaylee because I know she was on the podcast. She has been like probably one of the number one reason that I give myself grace. Like I really struggle with it, and having friends that are like, listen, girl, if she came to me with as much burnout that I've come to her, she would tell the exact same thing that I deserve to tell myself. Like, you are not a machine, you're human, and you deserve to relax. So let yourself relax. And that's really important to hear sometimes, like externally from other people, because it's really hard to tell yourself that you are allowed to just breathe.
Absolutely. Something I started doing after going to therapy and reading is like, what would I tell my friend it's very different from what I've told myself. And I'm like, why is that? And it's like, let me start treating myself the way I treat my friends. And what a huge difference on my perspective, my mental health, my mentality and things, the burnout, like huge difference.
That's awesome. Yeah, I actually saw a study on that, and they had a bunch of women, young women in the room, and they asked them to write all the worst things. I think the worst things that they don't like, the things they like about themselves and things they don't like about themselves. And then they asked to write the things that they like about their sibling and the things they don't like about their sibling. And then they the like, comments in juxtaposition to the things they don't like about themselves versus their sibling, it was like you would never talk to your sibling that way. And they had them like ask the comment, like, would you ever say something about your sibling, or how would you feel if your sibling said that about you? And it's like, oh, that would feel awful, but for some reason I can say that to myself, it's fine. So I feel like we're not always analyzing the way that we're talking to ourselves, because it's really difficult. But I mean, you're always in your head. Like, you have to make that place a healthy place for you to live. And it's easier said than done, but it takes like constant work.
Hmm. Absolutely. It's definitely taken me lots of books that I've read, lots of self reflection, and just understanding what it really means to love yourself and be in a place where like you're human, you're allowed mistakes, not to take advantage of that, but not to be so harsh on yourself and understand like, okay, there's tomorrow's a new day. Like, or that your thoughts that you think of yourself or the thoughts that you have aren't you, they're separate. Like your thoughts don't define you. And just being able to learn ways of like grounding yourself to be like, okay, that's just an external force that's trying to, like the little like angel and demon shoulder thing where it's like, this is just trying to like ruin the vibe and it's not connected to me and I don't have to deal with it.
Yeah, it's definitely hard for me to throw that away. I definitely find that like letting go is one of the things I struggle with the most. So if something's like bothering me or like I'm spiraling in a thought, it's very difficult to remove myself from that. But I find that like yoga and meditation and like journaling it out, because it's like, and like for anyone that's listening, if you don't journal, I really recommend it. Like the first 5 or so days, it is so difficult and you're just like, I don't know what to say, closed book. Like that's all you write. But like if you keep on with that habit, it's so important, because for me, I need to complete an idea to be able to move on, and I will spiral if I can't complete it. Like if I write in it, and it's something that can like and has really affected me really negatively. But journaling has given me the opportunity to, everything that's like all cloudy and confusing and all over the place and there's a million ideas, somehow simplifies when I write. And it's just like, oh, that was the answer. I have the answer. I can move on. Got it. And then it's like it's there in paper. And it's like something that's been very helpful to me, is to be able to like write out your thoughts, because for some reason things seem a lot scarier in your head than they are on paper, or even actually just doing them.
Yeah, it's interesting you brought that up because each Wednesday when a new episode drops, I make a TikTok video and talk about whatever the topic is. And so this week was anxiety. And I mentioned the thing how yoga, meditation, journaling has helped me with my anxiety. And there's a book I also read called Buy Yourself the Fucking Lilies by, I'm blanking on her name right now, but she's a comedian. But she talks about that one of the big things that she did for her growth was making herself journal every single day. And exactly said, like the beginning, you don't want to do it because it's like, okay, same thing as yesterday. Don't know what to update. Bye. But then
Exactly.
once you get to yourself, like you're writing to yourself and you get in the habit of like actually opening up, you get to learn and notice different thoughts that you have and emotional baggage or just things on your mind that you get to release that you subconsciously might have been like harboring.
Exactly. Yeah, I definitely think, and even like yoga, I feel like, because it's like movement, it's not just like meditation, because sometimes meditating, and like everyone does in the beginning, I'm getting so distracted. Like my to-do list. Oh, I forgot to do this thing. I forgot to text this person back. But I feel like yoga has really, I mean, meditation also really helps me, but I love moving while being able to like really breathe and try and be present, because it really helps you be intentional. Like once you can be intentional with one thing, you can be intentional in so many other areas, as opposed to like half doing everything.
Absolutely. The my routine sorry, excuse me, it's the wine. My routine every morning is the first thing I do when I wake up. Well, my cat will know when I wake up, so he'll jump on me and I'll cuddle with him for like 10 minutes, and then I go straight to my yoga mat and I'll do 10 minutes every morning and have an intention for the day. And I've noticed how much that has made an impact on the way I carry myself, the way I think about things. And it's also helped with the burnout of, okay, my intention is, okay, I'm going to be at peace. I'm going to be motivated. I'm going to be inspired. Then you're allowing yourself to not have that pressure, but also opening that door to get yourself out of a rut or a funk, whatever you want to call it.
Definitely. I actually have a question for you. Do you check your phone before you do yoga?
I think I'll go through my notifications to make sure there's nothing important. But then after that, just straight to my mat.
That's great. I definitely struggle with, because a lot of people say don't check your phone in the morning. And I actually notice that days that I do check my phone, I'm a lot more upset, anxious, and angry.
Mm.
And days that I don't, I feel like a lot more present. So I remember like one of the emotions that I struggle with a lot is anger. I think like it's, which is a secondary emotion to sadness. Um, it's just basically like unresolved sadness. So it just
Mhm.
turns festers into anger. So I remember, and even Kaylee, who I mentioned a lot and was on this podcast, she recommended to me every single morning I should get up, I should run, should come back, do some yoga, shower, journal, clean my room, make my bed, start my day. And I did that for a week. And I felt like day and night. Like I did not think that I would feel a lot better, but I felt like I could. I felt like I had peace almost in a way, because the days that I just wake up and what I my intentions are to see if I got anything important, any important missed calls or texts from any close friends, turns into I'll just check Twitter real quick. I'll just check Instagram real quick. I'll just check whatever I need to check real quick. But like it ends in me being on social media for at least 20, 30 minutes. And I'm literally consuming other people's thoughts before I'm even thinking about my own. So that's been something that's really helpful. And if anyone hasn't tried that, yeah, I really recommend just even not even a run, like go for a walk. And it's so nice because I also remove myself from my like small mini world. Like I work at home, I live at home, I'm always at home. And maybe I'll get some fresh air at like 4 or 5 p.m. And I used to run in the evening, like 6 p.m. But like I'm literally not seeing the sky until 6 p.m., which was like, I didn't even realize how detrimental. So when I wake up, my first thing I do is I go for a run. I'm like able to be like, okay, there's this whole world out here. It's a beautiful day. It's a gloomy day. Like I'm able to ground myself in a way that's way more like world view almost than just like checking Twitter, checking social media, and then coming down and starting my work for the day. So yeah, I feel like I'm just able to be more grounded. I'm able to be more present, more mindful, more intentional. And that can be really difficult to do, especially when you're lost in the hustle and bustle. But that's been kind of like my remedy for that.
Yeah, I think I agree with all of that. I really like amen to that. It's just something about having that moment really just, how would I say this? Kind of whatever stuff you were carrying from the day before, or you just kind of give yourself that fresh page to just kind of start over and have that moment to like ground yourself and be like, okay, like I'm human, it's fine. I don't need to put this unnecessary pressure, and having that attention for the day and allowing yourself to just be you and appreciate and enjoy being present in everything you do.
Definitely. I feel like a lot of us, especially that like deal with the feelings of anxiety, it's really hard for us to like if nothing happened, you're like, well, I don't really know I'm anxious. I'm just always anxious. So you don't really know what's like causing it. But if you like do like a big change in routine, like for me, which was the morning run and the morning cleaning of my bed and everything, I found myself not really anxious throughout the day. Like my anxiety was like a lot more lessened because I mean, I think it's honestly social media, like that social media in the morning. It's just like you're consuming the whole world. You're seeing other people's accomplishments. And like for me, I'm obviously happy for them, but I always feel like, damn, I wish that was me, or I wish I could do that, or I wish I was hitting that goal that they're hitting. So I'm like always comparing myself and not even trying to. So it's like this anxiety that you oftentimes don't really know where it's from because nothing really happened is really just from maybe just a simple part of your routine that you don't think about.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'm really glad you bring all this up because this is all stuff I wish I was able to realize before when, I suffered with severe anxiety, which led to my depression and that cycle of just all that stuff. And so I'm glad you're bringing this up because this is stuff that, again, I really wish I had realized when I was younger. And I know there's people listening that they're relating to this and being like, oh, but yeah, that's spot on. Like that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time for speaking with me. Is there anything else you wanted to share, like promote yourself, any plugins or anything you want to tell the listeners?
Nope. I just love everyone that's listening to this. That's like super awesome that you guys take the time to like for me, I don't really listen to podcasts in general, but I know that the people that do in general are always listening to like the top one listeners. But I also really love like support small businesses, like support the people that are just like able to have this like one-on-one conversation because it's like connections are able to make more connections and I'm able to learn from you and you learn from me. So thank you for having me. Thank you everyone for listening. That is such an honor. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, of course. No, thank you so much. I'm glad we were finally able to connect and chat for a little bit. Guys, if you're
Yeah.
listening, again, I'll have the wine in the bio. I'm going to have all of her stuff. That way you can check out her clothes, follow her Instagram, everything, because it's beautiful stuff. Just
Thank you.
really what I think this also ties into like the chapter of life where I'm at a place now where I'm like learning to embrace femininity,
Yes.
which is something I've always struggled with
Mhm.
being open to. And so your clothes are, I think, are the definition of like divine masculinity or femininity, just being able to be like confident and radiate from yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, just wanted to share that.
Thank you. That's such an honor. That's like literally my goal. And I'm really happy that you can see that and feel that in my creations.
Yes. Well, again, thanks guys for tuning into this episode. Again, links in bio and all that. Thanks for tuning in. Please, if you have any feedback, would love to hear. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one. All right. Bye, guys.